and welcome to This Week in the Studio. I'm Nicole, and I'm coming to you this week from cold and dreary South Texas. And you may have noticed that I'm in a different spot than I usually am whenever I do these videos. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, so I really just wanted to come to you guys, sit, and just shoot the breeze, if you will. I wanted to catch you up on what's been going on here and sort of just talk out some things I've been feeling lately. So I just wanted to chat at you for a bit. I hope that's okay. As usual, things have been very busy here. You've probably seen I've been posting some blog posts, but I haven't done a This Week in the Studio video in a little while. So if you missed those blog posts or vlog videos, be sure to go check them out. I will link my most recent ones below. I am, of course, busy as ever with my freelance work, just sewing a lot of little baby clothes and doing some fun alterations. I did a pretty interesting wedding dress alteration that you may have seen on my Instagram stories earlier this week. We're also prepping to go out of town next week for a little family vacation that we have every year, which is very exciting. So I'm really getting into that holiday season, trying to just mentally slow myself down as we go into this season that can be kind of high stress, especially whenever there's a lot of work involved as well as everything else that we have going on. I've been trying to still make time to, of course, exercise, trying to eat good, and still sneak in some sewing for myself every now and then. One thing I finished is this ebony tea dress that I've yet to blog, but I did get to photograph this past weekend. I had some extra time, so I photographed a few things for the blog that will be new and coming up that I'm really excited about. I have still been working on my new pattern, but I don't think I'm going to release it before the year is up. It still hasn't gone into testing. I've been tweaking it. I'm still not done with the instruction book, and I just decided that instead of rushing and trying to release it before the end of the year, just on principles that I would have another pattern to release, I want to take my time. I don't want to rush my testers. I want to, it's also not really a cold weather pattern. I mean, it can be, not really. So I am just going to hold off. At first I was like, who cares what the weather is? Like, I just want to get this pattern out into the world. But the closer we get to the holidays and the more that still hasn't even been into testing, the more I just want to take it easy and release it next year. So I'm still going to continue to work on it through the following month, the next few months, and I plan on maybe starting to test that in January. It's going to be a little bit longer of a testing process. It's a little bit more involved of a pattern than I've done before, so I just want to make sure that everybody has ample time to work out any kinks and nobody feels rushed. So if you feel like you might want to test a new pattern in January, I will put a link below to apply to be a tester for my patterns, and this is my master spreadsheet. So once you apply there, I'll always have your information, and if you aren't picked for this pattern, I will still have your information for future patterns, which I have gone back and picked people for patterns that didn't get picked in the very beginning. So I'm not going to say too much about the pattern. It is a dress, I will say that, and it has a princess seamed bust. If you've seen it on my Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, I have posted some sneaky pics of either me in it or someone else in it. that's all I'm going to say. If you are interested in testing, sign up below. It's going to be a not rushed process. I really want to take time with this one. Another thing I want to work on before I release my new pattern is I've been tweaking my blocks that I use to make my patterns, adjusting those a little bit with the Krissa Crop, and there was a lot of sort of weird fitting in the bust whenever we did testing for that. Which I edited on that pattern, but I want to go back and sort of redo my whole block, and so that is also on my list for this fall. Just sort of slowly retweaking things because the patterns I have for next year are really going to rely on a great fit. So I want to make sure that those blocks are perfect and ready to go for everyone. Some other things that have been on my mind lately are just sewing in general as we get to the end of the year, and I'm starting to think about my sewing plans for next year, how I'm going to plan that out. I usually plan out one project per month, and then I'll have like a backup refashion project or something to go with it. So I guess that's 2 projects a month. The backup project is usually like either something that I've had sitting around forever that hasn't been finished, or that needs to be refashioned or altered or something like that. That's my secondary project. And I do only one a month because that gives me ample time. I do, you know, I have my regular day job and then I sew for work too, so I don't like to rush myself, and that gives me time where if I do finish early, I can sneak in another project if I had something else in mind. But next year, I've been thinking a lot lately. There's been a lot of conversations going on Instagram and in the sewing world about our sewing production and sustainability, and how we can be more mindful as sewists. And Slow Fashion October really got me thinking a lot about that. And recently, when I've made stuff, I haven't had that like giddy feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to wear this, like this is so amazing, I can't believe I made this. I am more like, okay, that's done, I can check that off the list. And it's starting to feel a little bit how shopping used to feel, where you finish, you buy all this stuff, and you're like, okay, I have that now, but you don't exactly feel fulfilled, which is weird to me to say that sewing hasn't felt fulfilling. The actual act of sewing feels greatly fulfilling, but I'm starting to feel like I'm just sewing. I'm not really thinking about, even though I try to, I'm not really thinking about how it's going to fit into my closet, what I actually need, because obviously none of us really need any clothes. This is a hobby. We do it for fun. We're all pretty fully stocked on clothes. So I haven't really been thinking about that, and I've just been adding. I haven't really been getting rid of very much stuff. So I've been doing some reflecting, and there's 2 things that I'm thinking I'm going to do next year with my sewing. Because obviously, I'm not going to quit sewing. None of us are going to quit sewing. So the first thing is I'm not going to plan out specific projects per month. I do have a list of projects that I would like to sew, that I've sort of had on the radar, but I'm not going to specifically plan out 12 projects for the year. I might make 5 things next year. I might make 20 things next year. But I don't want to put that structured pressure on myself. I want to kind of sew as the mood strikes, what I'm feeling, really think about what I want to be sewing, not just make it because that's what I plan to make in April or whatever. So that is one thing that I'm going to be doing with my sewing. next year. I don't know if you can see this, but I have a puppy in my lap.
Hi. You're wiggling a lot.
The other thing is that I am going to go on a fabric buying ban / sew exclusively from my stash for an entire year. My stash has gotten a little out of control and I just don't need any fabric. And everything on my list of things I want to make that are kind of on my radar, I have fabric for already. And I think it'll help me stay away from that impulse sew, like when a new pattern comes out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to make this right now. Oh, but I don't have fabric for it. Well, let me go buy some. And you know how the downward spiral snowball happens. So I think it'll help with that. I think it'll help me be more intentional with my makes. I have a lot of beautiful fabrics in my stash that just really deserve to be sewn with. So I think it'll help with that as well, to cut down on my stash, really make me think about what's there, what it should become. I'm gonna structure this a little more, I think, and maybe come up with some sort of hashtag, maybe like hashtag the year of sewing my stash or something. I don't know. If you have any good ones, let me know. If you want to join me, I would love that. I will be doing a full blog post about it towards the end of the year, so look out for that. There may be some exceptions as far as pattern releases go. So I do, for the next couple patterns that I have, I do have fabric for those. So for those samples, so I won't need to buy any fabric for that, but things like muslin, notions that are required, I'm going to try to only use from my stash because I do have a lot of notions in my stash. But there may be situations where in order to make something with something in my stash, I do have to get something like that, or something that's part of my pattern. Getting a new pattern released, that might be an exception. But I feel pretty good about it. I think I'm gonna do it for a year. I'll be sort of updating you guys as I go, reflecting on how the project goes. Like I said, I've just now really been thinking about it, so I am going to really elaborate on this a bit more in a blog post, really think about some specific guidelines and rules in case anyone does want to join me. Of course, you can do your own riff on this if you want. I just feel like I want to maybe not focus so much on sewing clothes for myself, maybe focus more on my patterns, getting new patterns out, and also my Etsy shop, Honey Darlin'. I have so many great ideas and stuff for that I just don't get around to because I'm too busy sewing for myself. So I'm hoping to do a lot more focused work on that. I have some really fun textile manipulation sort of projects planned for that, and things I want to experiment with. So look out for stuff like that in the next year. Again, I'm going to update you guys. I'm going to do a full video on my plans for 2019. These are just sort of ramblings, and thank you for letting me ramble on to you about everything that has been on my mind lately, things that I've been thinking about sewing. I'm not quitting sewing, obviously, but I do want to really be more mindful and intentional in my sewing practice and not just be churning out clothes just because I can. Again, I mean, most of my fabric purchases of late have been either sustainable, whether they're secondhand, vintage, eco-friendly in some way, so that's awesome. But it's starting to become a little bit of a consumption habit, and I want to sort of check myself on that. If you have any thoughts about this, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Again, thank you so much for letting me just blab to you guys. On a contrary note, I do have, obviously I showed you guys my ebony dress that I finished. I also recently finished, I like how I'm like, I I sew too much? Oh, here, look at this thing I sewed. I recently finished this Marthe blouse by Republic de Chiffon in a really beautiful, thick, soft flannel from Style Maker Fabrics. I don't know if she has this anymore, but she does have some similar ones, so I'll be sure to link them below. I really have been wanting to make myself some cute tops in comfortable fabric for fall and winter, because I like to still be cute, but I also like to be warm. And this is so warm and so cute and so comfortable. I haven't photographed it yet. I did add a little pocket. And instead of gathering, since this fabric is so thick, I thought it would be cute and a little preppy to do pleats instead. So, and I don't know if you saw earlier, but I made buttons, a matching one, and I can't wait to show everyone. So maybe I'll be sewing more for buttons this year. You know, because dogs just need so much clothes. Lastly, I want to tell you guys about, I do have a weekly crush this week, and that is the Paper Cut Patterns new collection. It is adorable. There's so many great pieces in there. I specifically love the jumpsuit, the tie front jumpsuit. I am going to be looking at the fabric requirements for that and seeing if I have enough fabric in my stash to make one, because it's amazing and I think it would be cute in navy. I love it in mustard like they did. I have some mustard fabric, but I'm making some chi-town chinos out of that, so I don't know if I have enough. Anyways, the whole collection is adorable, but that jumpsuit is so amazing. So be sure to check that out. I will link it below. I'll be over here sewing my little head away. It'll probably be a couple weeks again before you hear from me, because we are going to be out of town next week in the woods, spending some time with my family. So that's going to be great. This chair just wants me to turn around, and so apparently, sorry guys. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for hearing me out as I sort of talk through some things I've been feeling today, lately. Be looking out for a little bit more about that in my November newsletter. And as always, happy sewing. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out those other posts that I've done. And I will talk to you guys next week, or in a couple weeks. Bye.